What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Agent Weather Forecast. I do apologize for not posting yesterday. I was very busy here, and I just had a cross-country meet, or aka race, and I just got home, so I do apologize for kind of being off a little schedule, but school just started, and I had a lot of homework, so I do apologize. But in this video, we're gonna be doing our hurricane outlook and discussion to see, can we see a very active September here? We all know September is the peak of the season on average every single year, but really, we're really watching for some big concern, as this is really the hyperactive 2020 season. We've already had 13 named storms by August, so this is pretty crazy here. So we're really watching the possibility for a very hyperactive September, and this could very well show to be the real peak here, if not even October. So that's what we're going to be looking at the video today. The conditions here, La Nina status, basically all that, the conditions throughout the next coming weeks here, looking at models. We're just going to be looking at all of that good stuff here, so be sure to stay tuned throughout the whole video to see whether we're going to see a very good active September. Before we get into the video, please subscribe if you're new, hit the like button and the post notification icon here. But without further ado, let's get into this YouTube video. So we actually have two disturbances here actually in the MDR here, which is the main development region. As you see, we have one right here that's kind of heading for the Lesser Antilles. This is kind of going where Marco went here. We all know Marco kind of went down here. And then this is kind of doing what a Laura did. So it's kind of like a Laura and Marco situation we just saw. Obviously, Laura's a tropical depression now, going over the Ohio and Mississippi River basins where they meet in southern Illinois there. But kind of, this is actually almost exactly where these storms were. I mean, I think, yeah, Marco was like right in the MDR heading for the Lesser Antilles, and then Laura was right there. But as you see, we do have two areas highlighted for potential development within the next 5 days. So really watching out maybe some new storms that we can have becoming a threat into the coming days of September. But as you see here, this one has a 40% chance for the next 5 days, but a 0% chance in the next 48 hours. But as you see, could form anywhere from here. So it seems like this has a higher chance for forming in the next 5 days. But this one right here has a 20% chance in the next 48 hours. So we will see if any of these actually do form. It'll be a close call to who forms first. But you see a 20% chance for the next 48 hours for disturbance number 1, which is a 30% chance. It is now moving around 15 miles an hour to the eastern Caribbean islands here. So we're going to be really watching some disturbed thunderstorms here. So we're going to really be watching the next coming days whether these could be maybe really important to look out for. And then there's Laura here at 30 miles an hour, 1,003 millibars, and moving east-northeast at 21 miles an hour. As you see here, we have actually reached La Nina status for actually quite a while. We've been at La Nina status since mid-August, I believe so. So yeah, as you see, we're at a negative 0.605. So we're actually at a very decent kind of advantage here of having La Nina. We actually are still under La Nina watch. We are not officially at a La Nina because it has to maintain below negative 0.5 for at least 30 days, and it has not done that officially. So once it does do that for at least 30 days, we will officially have La Nina, which is why we're still under La Nina watch. But technically we are at La Nina status, and this is going to really help bring less shear and actually increase the warm waters for portions of the MDR and Western Atlantic, which can obviously lead to a better probability and more favorable welcoming home for tropical systems here. And this is going to be a big threat, especially since we're about to go in the peak of the hurricane season. On average, September 10th to September 11th is the peak, and then of course we have our second peak there in October. So really watching, especially with the hyperactive season we've had so far more hyperactive than 2005. So if we keep this roll, 2020 can possibly really make 2005 run for its money here. But as you see, we have reached La Nina status, but it seems like it's going to be going up here. We actually have some warm spots in the El Nino or Nino 1 and 2 regions, and even Nino 3 regions. We have some warm waters trying to pop up here that could be leading to the status and latest value to go up here. But this is for 3.4, so this is between 3 and 4, which is what we use for the status here. But let's go check out now also how warm the waters are, how favorable, and all of that good stuff and what's to come. But obviously, we do have two disturbances that we need to keep an eye on. As you see, this is actually the percentage of the next 24 hours of form. So I believe this is going from 1 to like a 15. I know it stops here at 13 on the graph here. But as you see, we do have around a 6 or 7 out of... I had no idea what this graph goes to. But as you see, we do have a percentage here for development. For these two regions, we have that kind of two areas, and then we have that one near the Lesser Antilles with the lower probability, and then we have a higher probability next 5 days for some development here. As you see, we have two spotches here, so those are going to be coming off the coast of Africa. So really going to be watching out for some MDR storms. MDR does have some very good conditions, or very little shear in the general area of the MDR. Kind of shears more to the south here. Some southern MDR storms right near the equator. I believe the equator is like right here, something like that. That's going to lead to some possibilities here for the Western Atlantic. Really going to keep a close eye on these probabilities and see if they go higher. So that was a probability for the next 24 hours. This is now probability for the next 120 hours, which is what, just under 6 days, I believe. Just under 6 days. And as you see, this actually tells the actual percentage, and we have a 50 to a 60% chance. I think, yeah, a 50 to 60% chance for development here in this general area in the middle MDR here. The that disturbance here is the one disturbance is right here, so could possibly develop right there. And then we have the other disturbance here near the Lesser Antilles. This has actually a lower chance for development, as high a 30 to 40% chance here. But as you see, tracks are starting to take that one with a 30% chance toward the Central America area, and then this other one here that just came off the coast of Africa is leading kind of towards maybe a Western Atlantic storm heading for the Caribbean here. But you see, we already have a 50 to a 60% chance for development, which is actually pretty good within the next 6-ish days. So we could possibly see an increase tomorrow with the National Hurricane Center, maybe a 50 to 60% chance tomorrow for the National Hurricane Center on this disturbance number 2 here, as the probability have gone up a pretty good bit. Let's check out what the waters look like right now, and as you see, we are seeing actually pretty warm Western Atlantic like we usually do. Obviously, Marco and obviously Laura did cool off the waters a little bit by like a degree Celsius. Because obviously we had 30, 32 degrees Celsius here. Now they're like to 29, 28, even 30 still. But really starting to see a big area of warm waters now near between Bermudas and the Bahamas. Seeing a general area of some really warm waters there. So obviously we're going to be seeing a new epidemic of warmer spots right here. We have one there, and we have now for the Western Atlantic. It will take a couple days for the Western Caribbean and Eastern Gulf to kind of warm up back again, but really starting to see these warmer waters really trying to stretch more into the MDR. We now have 29 degrees Celsius here, right here near South America. We have now 29, almost 30 degrees Celsius there off the coast of Venezuela. So we're trying to see some really warmer waters now, where we've seen multiple stores like Gonzalo. We had Marco go there as well. Almost we had I believe actually yeah, but we kind of have seen some near almost Josephine as well, but really some extremely warm waters here, up to 31 degrees Celsius for some of these areas near Florida, the portions of the Northern Caribbean there, as well for portions of the scattered areas there for near Bermuda, between Bermuda and the Bahamas, but also starting to see some really warmer waters extend more to the Northern Atlantic, 29 degrees Celsius, 27 degrees Celsius, 25, so starting to see some widespread warmer waters. Obviously, we know September's the peak, because that's kind of we've seen the warmest waters there, and trying to see a warming up MDR, 28, 29 degrees Celsius for portions of these areas, so really monitoring if these waters do warm up a lot more, especially with the incoming La Nina, we could possibly see a pretty active September and October to come. We're going to be looking at as well the ocean heat content, which is kind of the amount of energy, aka kind of little energy, that's the easy way to put it. The amount of somewhat energy here that we have in these waters here that are stored. As you see, that's exactly why we did see Laura and Marco blow up here. Obviously, Marco kind of blew up here and then died in the Gulf, but Laura also kind of blew up right here, went to go off Havana because all that ocean heat content, it was there for weeks. Nothing went over, and then we had those two systems. They both blew up because of that very high ocean heat content. I mean, we're already seeing 8 degrees Celsius as far below as 150 meters. As you can, that's what it means here. I believe 150 meters. I believe that's what it means there in the as far in the water there. But as you see, kind of really, that's exactly why that Western Caribbean there and that Western United States, or sorry, not Western United States, Western Atlantic really becoming a hotspot, especially in September. Long track storms that kind of form off the coast of Africa, where they form right here, or even form in the Gulf there, and they have to go really through some warm and areas that are very favorable for blowing up storms there. So as we get to more to September, these ocean heat content will kind of warm up a little bit and get higher, more into the MDR, more into the Eastern Atlantic, which will bring some big threats for big storms before they get into the Caribbean. That's going to be a concern, especially September and October. And yeah, that's exactly what we're monitoring for. Let's check out now the shear here. As you see, the shear in the tropical Atlantic, as you see, vertical shear is going to really kind of plummet into the September time frame. As you see, this is where we are right now, almost in September. It has kind of gone up a little bit, but expected to go back down into around that September and October phase. We're expecting to see an average of less than 15 knots in the tropical Atlantic, all average down the tropical Atlantic. So not one specific region, just the tropical Atlantic is going to average out to seeing pretty low amount this year. It's going to be at its lowest point between September and October, which is really concerning because, I mean, it started to really go up a little bit there as we've kind of seen some higher numbers, some really nice amounts of shear coming off Africa, those easterly winds. That's really why we're seeing a lot of dry air and a lot of Saharan dust, because those shear was so strong and it was really frequent that it picked up all that dust. But now it's potentially expected to go back down, so that's going to be leading to a more favorable conditions and open spots for storms to really blow up. So this is actually the average traveling tracks, or the most likely traveling tracks here for the month of September. Like I said, they come off the MDR, or they come off the coast of Africa, and they potentially develop there in the MDR there. That's actually kind of where we have our disturbance number 2 actually right now, like almost exactly right there. I mean, that's actually coincidence. Actually, check that out, shall we? Yeah, it's like right where that X is, or right where this is. But you see, September, as you say, it tends to be, on average, the most active season. As you see, this is kind of where we see our storms developing, whether right in the Western Caribbean, then going to the Gulf, like we saw with Marco and Laura. You see, these are kind of doing exactly what those storms did, or those where they formed. But you see, we're seeing a lot of areas that have most likely potential tracks. So you see the Panhandle, Louisiana, a lot of the Western and Eastern Caribbean there. Obviously, I think it's going to be all the Caribbean should be under most likely, especially this year. I mean, we've seen a very active Eastern, a very active Western Caribbean. We had, obviously, Josephine kind of went right here. We also had, as well, Isaias that came, obviously, kind of, or actually, Isaias kind of came right there. We also had Laura as well come through here. We've kind of have, based on the amount of storms we've had so far this year, we've had a good, very active Eastern and general Gulf, and then we also had a very, so far, on average, of the amount of storms we've had, pretty decent Gulf. We had, obviously, Cristobal, we had Marco as well. So, I mean, that's based on the amount of storms we've had so far this year. That's pretty good. So, I think we're going to be seeing some big concerns, but really, Florida, North Carolina, and the Mid-Atlantic. I'm really leaning towards the Carolinas and the Southeast, like all the way from Miami up to Virginia Beach. I think we definitely have a big potential for September landfall. Not like a Isaias Category 1, but like maybe like a big like Florence storm, you know. But this is exactly what we have for the month of September on average. So here's looking now at the relative humidity, and as you see, you're going to be seeing a big tropical wave. Or a decent tropical wave that's going to provide a pretty good amount of moisture here for the incoming into the warm MDR waters, and it's going to bring in some potential for low pressure. That you see, we do have those 2 disturbances there, and this is the next 108 hours. And we saw that disturbance number 2 has a 50 to 60% chance for the next 120 hours there. As you see, really hoping that this dry air kind of dies out, so we can possibly have some pretty good storms moving in. Also going to be seeing a pretty wet and relatively humid western Atlantic for a while here. But as you see, it seems like the GFS is showing something on September 13th. But as you see, going to be seeing a pretty good amount of moisture coming off Africa. The thing is, will that shear die down to the point where so does that Saharan dust? As you see, the shear kind of comes into play with the Saharan dust, but I see really relatively a really non-windy NDR. I mean, we're seeing areas, pretty large areas that have 0 knots, less than 10 knots here. Obviously, you're going to be seeing now that Mark and Laura came, we're going to be seeing a good amount of shear now in the Gulf for a little coming days, but it won't be impressive. The only thing I'm really looking at is September 1st. Look at that big open gap of literally almost no shear for much of the Caribbean. I mean, that's a pretty big concern there. I mean, look at that. There's like no shear whatsoever for portions of all of the all of the Gulf, Western Caribbean, even portions of the southeastern coast. That's a little concerning here. That's a little concerning. As you see, there's like very little shear from Africa to America and Mexico. I mean, little spotches there, but what are the chances those storms go the exact time, exact location there? But as we go further into September, it seems like we're going to be seeing a lot of shear moving to the Gulf. But really, I mean, not much shear in the NDR whatsoever. I mean, ever since Josephine, we've had a very limited amount of shear there. Let's also check the GFS models. As you see, though, they do see some systems kind of developing there throughout the MDR. And then they show like one storm here being pretty good here. So that's something we're really keeping in mind. But we do have 980, 973 millibar storm there. Obviously, there probably won't happen, but really just keeping in mind that there's a possibility we can have a storm like that this month. So guys, hope you guys enjoyed that video, and bye guys.